Hello, everyone. When Susan Boyle first stepped onto the Britain's Got Talent stage in 2009, awkward, nervous, and entirely underestimated by nearly everyone watching, including the judges, the world witnessed one of the most stunning and emotional turns in modern entertainment history, as her performance of I Dreamed a Dream shattered stereotypes, humbled critics, and instantly turned her from an unknown Scottish woman living a quiet life into a global sensation overnight. But while millions celebrated her victory and assumed that fame would bring her joy, comfort, and prosperity, the truth about what happened to her life in the years that followed is far more complicated, far more human, and in many ways profoundly sad, revealing the emotional cost of sudden fame, the toll of public pressure, and the quiet loneliness behind the voice that moved the world. Susan Boyle never wanted the chaotic, relentless machinery of celebrity. She simply wanted a chance to prove she could sing, yet as soon as she won, she was thrust into an industry that operates at a pace and intensity that few people, especially someone with her background, her vulnerabilities, and her gentle nature, could easily navigate. And while headlines celebrated her success, her internal world was collapsing under the weight of expectation, media scrutiny, and emotional exhaustion. In the months after her win, Boyle suffered widely reported mental health crises, overwhelmed by the attention, the flashing cameras, the aggressive paparazzi, and the overwhelming schedule demanded of a chart-topping star, and the same public that once praised her as an underdog began nitpicking her appearance, her mannerisms, her behavior, and even her neurodiversity, often forgetting that behind the internet jokes and tabloid commentary was a real woman simply trying to adjust to a life she never expected. Though she went on to sell millions of albums, earning financial success beyond anything she imagined, she still chose to remain in her modest childhood home, living quietly in the same simple environment she grew up in, partly out of comfort and partly because fame never changed her soul. But as the years passed and the world shifted to new stars, new trends, new viral moments, Susan Boyle slowly retreated from the spotlight, no longer appearing regularly on talk shows, award stages, or international tours, leaving many fans wondering what had happened to the once unstoppable icon. The truth is that as the fame dwindled, so too did the emotional support system that had briefly surrounded her. The industry moved on, the cameras disappeared, and Boyle, who had never married, never had children, and lived much of her life in quiet isolation, found herself returning to a solitary existence, one punctuated by moments of joy and singing, but overshadowed by long stretches of loneliness, routine, and the lingering effects of the emotional battles she fought during her peak years. She has spoken openly about longing for companionship, for a partner to share her life with, yet despite her openness, fame made it nearly impossible for her to trust new people, leaving her romantic life largely untouched, and her heart still waiting for a story that never fully came. While she occasionally released music and made holiday appearances, the world began to see less and less of her, and fans who once felt inspired by her rags-to-riches story began to feel a sort of collective sadness, recognizing that her massive success brought her stability but not the happiness or fulfillment many assumed would follow her victory. Even as she proudly showcased her financial independence by purchasing the house next door and remodeling it into a simple, comfortable home, the reality remained that she lives alone, often retreating into routines that mirror the life she lived before fame. Except now with the added complexity of public expectations, fading visibility, and the lingering weight of a dream that changed her life but also overwhelmed it. Her diagnosis on the autism spectrum, revealed years after her rise to fame, added clarity to the struggles she has faced, but it also highlighted the deep emotional mismatch between her gentle nature and the brutal world of celebrity culture. The very industry that adored her voice failed to protect her heart, and she has had to spend much of her post-fame life healing from the pressure, chaos, and misunderstanding that followed her meteoric rise. Today, Susan Boyle lives quietly, occasionally performing, occasionally sharing updates with fans, but mostly navigating a life that sits between two worlds: the small, peaceful Scottish village she has always known, and the global stage that once embraced her. Her story is sad not because she failed, she achieved more than almost anyone ever imagined, but because the world never fully understood her, never gave her the space to adjust, and never realized the immense emotional weight it placed on a woman who simply wanted to sing. And yet, amid the sadness, there is also a strange, quiet strength in her peaceful retreat from fame. She has found solace in routine, in choir singing, in faith, in the familiarity of her hometown, and while the media frames her life as lonely or tragic, perhaps Susan Boyle is simply living the life she always wanted, simple, humble, and far away from the noise. But for the millions who watched her rise, who felt her story in their hearts, and who still wonder what became of that extraordinary voice, Susan Boyle's life remains a bittersweet tale, a reminder that dreams can come true, but they often come with a price. And sometimes the brightest moments in life cast the longest shadows once the spotlight fades. Thanks for watching.